The wine glass trembled in her hand, not from fear, from the effort of remaining invisible. 26 years of practice, and Thea Morvan still hadn't mastered the art of disappearing in plain sight. The Friday night crowd at Nocturne Wine Bar pressed around her like water around a stone. Conversations flowed. Laughter crashed. Life happened everywhere, except in the 3-foot radius around her solitary bar stool. She traced a finger through the condensation on her glass. The Merlot had gone lukewarm 20 minutes ago. The bartender, Marcus, had forgotten her order twice already. Not maliciously, just habitually. Thea had that effect on people. She existed in the margins of their awareness, perpetually out of focus. The burn on Marcus's forearm caught her attention as he reached past her for someone else's drink order. Fresh, angry red, second degree at least. She could see the exact shape of the espresso machine's steam wand branded into his skin. Her fingers tingled. No, not here. Not now. She curled her hand into a fist nails, biting crescents into her palm. The sensation didn't stop. It never did when someone nearby was in pain. Her body recognized suffering the way a compass recognized north. Inevitable. Undeniable. Another Merlot, Marcus asked, not quite meeting her eyes. Please. He'd already forgotten by the time he turned toward the wine rack. Thea watched his burn weep clear fluid onto the mahogany bar. The tingling in her hands intensified, became an ache, then a pull, like invisible threads connecting her fingertips to his wound. 26 years of fighting this. 26 years of losing. When Marcus set down her fresh glass, his balance shifted. His burned forearm grazed her knuckles for half a second. No more. The world lurched sideways. Pain exploded across Thea's arm, a line of liquid fire from wrist to elbow. She gasped, bit down on the sound before it could escape. Her vision blurred, then sharpened. The burn on Marcus's arm was gone. Vanished. Smooth skin where blistered flesh had been. The burn on her arm throbbed in perfect symmetry to where his had been. Marcus stared at his healed forearm, blinked, shook his head like clearing water from his ears, then shrugged and moved on to the next customer, already forgetting the impossible thing he'd just witnessed. Thea pulled her sleeve down over her own arm, hiding the fresh burn. It would fade in an hour, it always did, faster for her than for the original wound's owner. Small mercies. You should have that looked at. The voice came from her left, deep, textured like aged whiskey in winter frost. The kind of voice that made you forget whatever you'd been thinking about. Thea turned. The man sitting on the stool beside her shouldn't have been there. She would have noticed. She noticed everything, trained herself to catalog her surroundings as a defense mechanism. Empty stool to her left, couple arguing in the corner. Marcus forgetting her existence. Pattern. Routine. Safe. This man shattered patterns. He was all sharp angles and controlled stillness. White silver hair fell past his shoulders in waves that looked deliberately untamed, catching the amber light from the Edison bulbs overhead. His face could have been carved from marble by someone who understood that beauty and danger were often the same thing. High cheekbones, strong jaw, mouth that suggested he knew exactly how much power he held and chose not to use it. Yet, but his eyes, silver gray like storm clouds backlit by lightning. Old eyes, eyes that had seen centuries pass and found them all wanting. He wore black, expensive black, the kind of tailoring that whispered wealth instead of shouting it. A leather jacket that probably cost more than Thea's monthly rent hung open over a simple black shirt. I'm fine, Thea said automatically. You're lying. No judgment in his tone, just observation. You took his pain. I watched you do it. The wine bar's ambient noise seemed to recede. Thea's heart kicked against her ribs like a caged bird. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. He raised his hand, flagged Marcus with 2 fingers. The bartender appeared instantly attentive in a way he'd never been with Thea. 2 of whatever she's drinking. Marcus poured without question, set down 2 fresh glasses of Merlot and left. The stranger slid 1 glass toward Thea, raised his own. To chance encounters, he said, to strangers who buy wine without asking permission. The words came out sharper than she'd intended. Defense mechanism. Keep people at arm's length before they could get close enough to hurt. He smiled, actually smiled. The expression transformed his face from beautiful to devastating. I'm Dorian, he said, and you're not a stranger. You're the woman who just absorbed a 2nd-degree burn to spare a bartender who didn't even notice you were bleeding. Thea looked down. A thin line of blood seeped through her sleeve where the burn had broken skin. She'd been so focused on hiding the wound she hadn't realized it had split open. It's nothing. Everything you say is a lie wrapped in self-preservation. Dorian's voice gentled. I understand that impulse. I've spent lifetimes perfecting it. Lifetimes. Thea couldn't help the skepticism in her tone. Figure of speech. His eyes said otherwise. What's your name? She should have left. Should have grabbed her jacket and melted into the Friday night crowd and never come back to this wine bar. Should have maintained the careful isolation that kept her safe. Thea. Thea. He repeated it like he was tasting the syllables. It suits you, goddess of light. I'm not a goddess. I'm a waitress with a genetic condition. Is that what they told you? Dorian's hand moved across the bar slow enough that she could pull away if she wanted. His fingers brushed hers. Warm. Surprisingly warm for someone who looked like winter given human form. That you're broken. The question landed like a punch. I'm not broken, Thea said, but the words felt hollow. How many doctors had she seen? How many white-coated specialists had poked and prodded and taken vial after vial of blood trying to understand why her body did impossible things? I'm just different. Different. Dorian's thumb traced the back of her hand. His touch sent electricity racing up her arm. Not painful, the opposite of pain. Show me. What? Your arm. The burn you took from him. Show me. Every instinct screamed at Thea to refuse. She'd spent 26 years hiding. Hiding the ability. Hiding the scars it left. Hiding herself. But Dorian's eyes held no judgment. Only curiosity. And something else. Something that looked almost like recognition. Thea pushed up her sleeve. The burn marked her forearm in an angry red line already beginning to fade at the edges. Steam wand-shaped. Exact replica of what had been on Marcus's skin 5 minutes ago. Dorian's expression didn't change. He studied the wound with the same intensity someone might study a piece of art. How long have you been able to do this? Since I was a child, maybe always. The words came easier than they should have. I touch someone who's hurt and their pain becomes mine. Their wound transfers. Heals on them, appears on me, then fades within an hour or two, depending on severity. And you've hidden it. Wouldn't you? Thea pulled her sleeve back down. People don't understand things like this. They study them, dissect them, lock them in laboratories and forget they're dealing with a person. Yes, Dorian's single word carried the weight of experience. They do. Silence fell between them, not awkward, contemplative. The wine bar hummed with life around them, but in their small pocket of space-time seemed to slow. You said you watched me, Thea said finally. How long were you watching? Long enough to see that you're lonely. Dorian's brutal honesty should have stung. Instead, it felt like relief, like someone finally seeing her. Long enough to recognize a kindred spirit. You're lonely, Thea studied him. This man who commanded attention without trying, who moved through space like he owned it. That's hard to believe. The loneliest people are often the ones surrounded by crowds. His smile held centuries of sorrow. I've been alone for longer than you can imagine, Thea. Surrounded by people who see what they want to see, who never look past the surface to find the truth underneath. And what truth is that? That I'm tired. The admission seemed to surprise him as much as it surprised Thea. 300 years of the same patterns, the same conversations, the same empty connections that mean nothing and go nowhere. Thea's breath caught. 300 years. Give or take a decade. Dorian drained his wineglass, set it down with deliberate precision. Does that frighten you? It should have. Normal people didn't live 300 years. But Thea had stopped being normal the first time she'd taken pain from a dying sparrow and felt its broken wing manifest on her own back. No, she said honestly, it explains your eyes. My eyes, they're old, ancient, like you've seen everything the world has to offer and found it all disappointing. Dorian laughed. The sound was unexpected, genuine, rich and dark and beautiful. You see too much, Thea Morven. You see too little, Dorian. She waited for a last name. Just Dorian. He leaned closer, close enough that she could smell him. Cedar and night rain and something else. Something world and other. Tell me something. This gift of yours, this ability to heal others by taking their wounds, do you hate it? The question struck deep. Did she hate it? Thea thought about every scraped knee she'd healed on playground bullies who tormented her the next day. Every broken bone she'd absorbed from strangers on the subway. Every burn, every cut, every ache she'd pulled into her own body while the original sufferers walked away whole and unknowing. Sometimes, she admitted, when I'm the only one bleeding, when no one sees what it costs me. And other times. Thea met his storm gray eyes. Other times I think it's the only thing that makes me matter. The only thing that gives me purpose. Dorian's hand found hers again. His grip was firm, anchoring. What if I told you that you matter for more than your utility? His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. What if I told you that someone sees exactly what it costs you and values you for who you are, not what you can do? Thea's heart hammered. This was insane. She'd met this man 30 minutes ago. She didn't know him, didn't know what he was beyond old and lonely and impossibly compelling. But God, when was the last time someone had looked at her like this? Like she was visible, like she mattered. I'd say you're either lying or delusional, Thea managed, or honest. Dorian's thumb brushed her knuckles. Terrifyingly, uncomfortably honest. The moment stretched, held. Thea felt balanced on a knife's edge between running away and leaning in. Dorian spoke first. I'm going to say something ridiculous. You're going to think I'm insane. But I'm going to say it anyway because 300 years has taught me not to waste time on pleasantries when I find something real. Okay. I want a child. Whatever Thea had expected, it wasn't that. I'm sorry, what? A child. Dorian didn't look away, didn't laugh it off as a joke. An heir, someone to share the weight of immortality with, someone to make the endless years feel less empty. Thea's brain stuttered over the word immortality but kept moving. That's quite a conversation for a first meeting. I told you it was ridiculous. But Dorian's expression remained serious. 300 years, Thea. 300 years of watching humans live and love and die. Of building empires that crumble. Of accumulating wealth that means nothing. And through all of it, I've been alone. Completely, utterly alone. Do you know what that does to a soul? The raw pain in his voice resonated with something deep in Thea's chest. She did know. Maybe not 300 years worth, but she knew the ache of isolation. The weight of being surrounded by people and feeling invisible. Why are you telling me this? Because the moment you took that bartender's pain, I saw something I haven't seen in centuries. Dorian's eyes blazed with intensity. Purpose, selflessness, the kind of soul that gives without expectation of return. And I thought foolishly, desperately, what if what? What if you could give me what I've always wanted? What if your gift extends beyond healing? What if? I can do that. The words left Thea's mouth before her brain could stop them. Dorian froze. What did you say? Thea's hand shook as she set down her wine glass. This was insane, beyond insane, but something in his loneliness called to hers. Something in his desperate hope made her want to hope too. I said I can do that, give you a child. She forced herself to meet his eyes. 2 days ago, I was at my doctor's office, annual physical, routine blood work, except nothing about my blood is a routine. Dorian leaned in every line of his body focused on her. They told me I'm a genetic anomaly, Thea continued. 1 in a billion, universal donor, regenerative properties in my cells, immune system that shouldn't exist. They wanted to study me, run more tests, figure out how my healing ability works on a cellular level. And you refused. I've been refusing for 26 years. Every doctor wants to turn me into a lab rat. Every specialist sees a puzzle to solve instead of a person. Bitterness crept into Thea's voice. But they did tell me one thing. My genetic markers suggest I'm compatible for reproduction in ways that shouldn't be possible. Hyperfertile, they called it, like my body was designed to create life. Silence fell heavy between them. Dorian's hand trembled where it gripped the edge of the bar. You have no idea what you're saying, he finally managed. Don't I? Thea felt reckless, free. For the first time in her life, someone was asking her for something she could actually give, not asking her to be less, to hide, to shrink, but to be more. You want a child. I can apparently create life with genetic compatibility that defies logic. So yes, Dorian, who is 300 years old and somehow not kidding about that, I can do that. Thea, her name sounded like a prayer and a curse. If you're serious, if you mean this, you need to understand what you're offering. Then tell me. Dorian stood, pulled out his wallet, dropped a $100 bill on the bar for 2 glasses of wine, then held out his hand. Not here, not surrounded by people who don't see you. If we're going to have this conversation, we're going to have it properly. Thea looked at his outstretched hand, pale, long fingers. No wedding ring? No scars? Skin that looked like it had never known the touch of time. Every rational part of her brain screamed danger. Don't go with strange men. Don't trust beautiful words from beautiful mouths. Don't believe in fairy tales. But the lonely part, the part that had spent 26 years invisible, the part that absorbed pain and gave healing and never received anything in return, that part reached out and took his hand. His grip was firm, cool, exactly right. Where are we going? Thea asked as Dorian led her toward the exit. Somewhere safe, somewhere private, somewhere I can show you exactly what you're agreeing to. He paused at the door, turned to face her fully. Last chance to walk away, Thea. After this, everything changes. Good, Thea said. I'm tired of everything staying the same. Dorian's smile could have stopped hearts. Then hold on tight. The world blurred. One moment they stood in the doorway of Nocturne Wine Bar. The next wind whipped Thea's hair, and the city lights became streaks of color, and her stomach dropped like she'd stepped off a cliff. She buried her face in Dorian's shoulder, felt the solid strength of him, the inhuman speed as he moved through space in ways that violated every law of physics. When the world stopped spinning, they stood in front of a high-rise that looked like it cost more than Thea's entire existence. Penthouse, Dorian said, already moving toward the entrance. Cliché, I know. Little bit? Thea's voice came out shaky. Adrenaline and fear and exhilaration tangled in her chest. How did we, vampire speed, one of many abilities you're about to learn exist? He nodded to the doorman who barely glanced at Thea. Elevators this way. Vampire. The word hung in the air like smoke. Vampire. Thea's brain tried to process it. Failed. Tried again. You're a vampire. I am. The elevator doors opened. Dorian guided her inside, pressed the button for the penthouse level. And before you ask, no, I don't sparkle. No sunlight won't kill me instantly, though it's uncomfortable. Yes, I drink blood. No, I'm not going to drink yours without explicit permission. The clinical recitation should have been comforting. Instead, it made everything more surreal. This is insane, Thea whispered. Yes. I should run away screaming. Probably. Are you going to hurt me? Dorian's expression softened. He cupped her face with one hand, thumb brushing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. Never. I have done terrible things in my 300 years, Thea. I've killed. I've conquered. I've built an empire on blood and fear. But I would burn it all to ash before I let anyone harm you, including myself. Why so? Because loneliness recognizes loneliness. His eyes held hers. Because when you took that bartender's pain, I saw a soul that understands sacrifice. Because in 26 years, you've been invisible to everyone except me, and I have been invisible in my own way for 300 years. So maybe, just maybe, we can see each other. The elevator climbed. Thea's pulse hammered in her throat. What happens now? She asked. Now, Dorian said as the doors opened onto a sprawling penthouse, I show you my world, and you decide if you want to be part of it. The space beyond the elevator stole Thea's breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city like a kingdom spread beneath them. The furniture was minimal, expensive, everything in shades of black and gray and silver. But it was the details that caught Thea's attention. The books lining one wall, hundreds of them, in dozens of languages. The grand piano in the corner, keys worn from use. The photographs scattered on a sideboard, black and white images from eras long past. A life lived in solitude. 3,000 square feet of loneliness. Welcome to my cage, Dorian said with bitter irony. Thea walked to the windows, pressed her hand against the cool glass. The city sprawled below, millions of lives intersecting and diverging. So much life. So much connection. It's beautiful, she said. It's a prison. Dorian came up behind her, close but not touching. I built this empire thinking power would fill the emptiness. Thinking if I controlled enough, conquered enough, accumulated enough, I would finally feel whole. And I was wrong. His reflection in the window looked haunted. 300 years of wrong. Thea turned to face him. This close, she could see the lines of exhaustion around his eyes. The way he held himself, like every muscle was permanently tensed. The loneliness carved into every angle of his beautiful, terrible face. You said you wanted a child, she said quietly. Is that really what you want, or do you want to not be alone? The question hit its mark. Dorian's expression cracked open. Both, he admitted. God help me, Thea. Both. Her hand moved before conscious thought, reached up, touched his face. The moment her palm connected with his cheek, the world exploded. Pain, ancient pain, centuries of wounds layered one on top of another. Silver burns from weapons designed to kill him. Betrayals that cut deeper than any blade. Loss upon loss, everyone he'd ever cared about turning to dust while he remained unchanging. Thea gasped, tried to pull away. Dorian caught her wrist, held her hand to his face. You feel it, he breathed. You feel what I carry. Yes. Tears streamed down Thea's face. The pain was overwhelming. Not physical, emotional. 300 years of anguish pouring through the connection between them. I didn't mean... Dorian started to pull her hand away. No, Thea pressed harder. Let me try. She'd never attempted to heal emotional wounds before, didn't know if it was possible. But if her gift could transfer physical pain, maybe, just maybe. She focused, pulled, drew the centuries of loneliness into herself like pulling poison from a wound. The weight crushed her. Thea's knees buckled. Dorian caught her, lowered them both to the floor. Still she pulled, still she absorbed. 300 years of existing without truly living, of touching without feeling, of seeing the sun rise and set thousands of times and finding no joy in it. Stop, Dorian pleaded. Thea, stop. You'll hurt yourself. I can take it. She could barely speak through the pain. Let me help you, Kamahanes. You can't heal this. It's too much, too old, too deep. Watch me. Thea pulled harder. The emotional anguish manifested as physical sensation. Her chest felt like it was caving in, her head pounded. Every nerve screamed. But in Dorian's eyes, something changed. The haunted look began to fade. The lines of tension softened. His breathing, unnecessary for a vampire, came easier. How are you doing this? Wonder colored his voice. I don't know, The penthouse door exploded inward. Thea jerked back from Dorian, pain and shock colliding. A woman stood in the doorway, tall and elegant, with silver hair pulled into a severe knot. Blood streaked her shirt. A deep gash ran from her shoulder to her ribs, bleeding freely. We have a problem, the woman said, then collapsed. Dorian was at her side instantly. Cassandra, what happened? Hunters, 3 of them. Cassandra's voice came tight with pain. Got me with silver blades. Poisoned. I killed 2. The 3rd escaped. Damn it. Dorian cradled her, his hands hovering over the wound. This is deep. I cannot help. Thea was already moving, crossing the distance between them. Her hands reached for Cassandra before her brain could catch up. Thea, no, Dorian warned. Silver poisoning is dangerous even for vampires. If you take this, then I take it. Thea's hands found Cassandra's wound. The world went white with agony. Silver, burning through her veins like liquid fire. Poison designed to kill supernatural creatures now coursing through her very human body. The gash opened across Thea's ribs in perfect symmetry to Cassandra's wound. Blood soaked through her shirt. Thea screamed. Dorian caught her as she felt his face a mask of terror. What did you do? What did you do? Saved her. Thea could barely breathe around the pain. Check her, check Cassandra. Dorian looked. Cassandra's wound was gone. Healed. The vampire sat up, staring at her unmarked skin in disbelief. Impossible, Cassandra breathed. Not for her. Dorian's hands shook as he examined Thea's new wound. The silver poison already worked through her system, but differently. Faster. Her healing ability kicking in, processing the toxin in ways a normal human never could. Who is she? Cassandra demanded. Someone remarkable. Dorian lifted Thea in his arms, carried her to a leather couch. Someone who just saved your life without hesitation. I'm Thea, Thea managed through gritted teeth. The pain was already fading faster than the bartender's burn, but slower than she'd like. Nice to meet you. Sorry about the blood on your floor. Cassandra laughed, actually laughed. I like her. Of course you do. Dorian's thumb brushed Thea's forehead, checking for fever. She's insane, recklessly brave, and apparently incapable of self-preservation. Sounds like someone else I know, Cassandra said dryly. She stood, moved with predatory grace, to examine Thea more closely. That wound should have killed you. The silver alone. I heal fast. Thea tried to sit up, failed, settled for lying still while her body processed poison it was never meant to encounter. And I couldn't just watch her bleed. Why not? Cassandra's question held genuine curiosity, not judgment. I'm a vampire, a killer. You owe me nothing. Because you were hurt. Thea met the vampire's silver eyes. And when people are hurt, I help. It's what I do. Silence fell heavy. Cassandra looked at Dorian. Where did you find her? Wine bar. Chance encounter. Dorian hadn't stopped touching Thea, his hand resting on her shoulder like he needed to confirm she was real. 30 minutes ago. 30 minutes, Cassandra's eyebrows rose. And she's already bleeding silver poisoning on your couch. What did you tell her? The truth, most of it. And she didn't run? I told you, Dorian said softly. She's remarkable. Cassandra knelt beside the couch, her expression serious. Thea, that's your name, yes. Yes. I'm Cassandra, Dorian's second in command, his most trusted advisor. And as someone who has known him for a century, I need to ask you a question. Okay. Do you have any idea what you're getting involved in? Cassandra's voice held no threat, only concern. What you just did, healing me, taking my wound, that ability makes you valuable, dangerously valuable. Do you understand? Thea thought about it, thought about her lonely apartment, her meaningless waitressing job, her carefully constructed life of invisibility. No, she admitted, I don't understand. But for the first time in 26 years, I feel like I matter. Like I'm not just a lab rat or a genetic anomaly or someone to forget. So whatever danger comes with that, I'll face it. Brave words. Honest ones. Cassandra studied her for a long moment, then nodded, apparently satisfied with whatever she'd found. I need to run some tests, Cassandra said, standing. If your blood can heal vampire wounds, neutralize silver poisoning, we need to know the extent of your abilities. Tests, Thea's stomach dropped. Not like the doctors you've dealt with before. Cassandra's voice gentled. I'm not human. I have access to vampire medicine, magic, ways to analyze your gift without treating you like an object. But we need information, Thea. Because if you can do what I think you can do, you're not just valuable, you're priceless. And that means every vampire in the world will want you. For breeding, for weaponizing, for draining dry and studying your corpse. The blunt words hit like a slap. Cassandra, Dorian warned. She needs to know. Cassandra didn't back down. Better she hears it from us than learns it when someone tries to kidnap her. Thea's wound had faded to a thin pink line across her ribs. She sat up slowly, using the movement to buy time to think. If I agree to tests, she said carefully, I have conditions. Name them. Dorian stays with me every moment, no separating us. Agreed. Results are mine, not shared without my explicit permission. Done. And if I decide to leave you, let me go, no matter what you discover. Cassandra and Dorian exchanged a look. That's the one I can't promise, Cassandra said. Not because I'd stop you, but because once other vampires learn what you are leaving, our protection is a death sentence. Then I'll take that risk. Thea, Dorian took her hand. She's not exaggerating. The vampire world is built on power and hierarchy. Your ability to heal, to create life, to neutralize our weaknesses. You would be seen as the ultimate resource. Factions would go to war over you. So I'm supposed to become a prisoner for my own safety. Bitterness crept into Thea's voice. Spend the rest of my life locked in a gilded cage. No, Dorian's grip tightened. You're supposed to let me protect you while you learn to protect yourself. There are ways, training, magic, but you can't do this alone. Thea looked between them. Dorian with his ancient eyes and desperate hope, Cassandra pragmatic and fierce, both offering something she'd never had before. Protection, belonging, purpose. Okay, she said, run your tests, but on my terms. And if at any point I feel like you're using me instead of helping me, I walk. Fair enough. Cassandra pulled out her phone. I'll need to collect blood samples, run genetic sequencing, test your healing capacity under controlled conditions. The equipment's in my lab. Dorian, can you carry her? That silver poisoning is processed, but she shouldn't walk yet. I can walk, Thea protested. Dorian was already lifting her in his arms. Humor me. You just absorbed enough silver to kill 3 vampires. And I'm fine. You're extraordinary. He said it like a fact, but even extraordinary people need to rest. Thea wanted to argue, but being carried in Dorian's arms, feeling his strength and the care with which he held her, wasn't terrible. It was the opposite of terrible. It was safe. Cassandra led them through the penthouse to a door Thea hadn't noticed before. Beyond it, stairs descended into what looked like a high-tech laboratory. Medical equipment hummed, computer screens glowed. The air smelled of antiseptic and something else, something old and other. Welcome to my workshop, Cassandra said. Don't touch anything unless I tell you to. She gestured to a medical chair in the center of the room. Dorian set Thea down gently, then positioned himself beside her. Protective. Present. Cassandra pulled on gloves, gathered supplies. A syringe. Vials. Some kind of scanning device that looked like it belonged in science fiction. This won't hurt, Cassandra said. Much. Comforting. I try. Cassandra approached with the syringe. First, a blood sample. Standard procedure. Thea held out her arm. The needle slid in. Blood filled the vial, dark red, normal. Cassandra held it up to the light. The blood began to glow, soft, golden, like liquid sunlight. By the ancestors, Cassandra breathed. What? Thea stared at her own blood. What's happening? Your blood. It's not just healing, it's... Cassandra grabbed more vials, working quickly. Dorian, look at this. Dorian moved closer. His expression shifted from curiosity to shock. That's transformation blood, he said quietly. What does that mean? Thea asked. Cassandra and Dorian exchanged another look. There are legends, Cassandra said slowly. Old stories about humans born with blood that could change everything. Blood that could make vampires human again. Or create new vampires without turning. Or cure the inability to bear children. Blood so powerful it was hunted to extinction 500 years ago. Extinction. We thought it was extinct, Dorian corrected. We were wrong. Thea's blood continued to glow in the vial. Beautiful. Terrifying. So what does this mean for me? Cassandra set down the vial with shaking hands. It means you're not just one in a billion, Thea. You're one in existence. The last of a bloodline we thought died out. And every vampire in the world would kill to possess you. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Thea looked at Dorian, at the man who'd offered her connection when she'd been invisible, who'd shown her his loneliness and let her take his pain. When you joked about wanting a child, she said quietly, you weren't joking, were you? No, his voice was rough. For 300 years, I've been sterile. Vampires can't create life, but the legend said transformation blood could change that, could make the impossible possible. And now you've found me. Now I've found you. Dorian knelt beside her chair. Thea, I need you to understand. I didn't know what you were when I approached you in that wine bar. I saw a lonely woman taking a stranger's pain. I felt a connection. Everything else, the blood, the legends, the possibility. It's chance. Fate, I don't know. But I need you to believe me when I say I didn't seek you out for what you could give me. But now that you know, now that I know, I want to protect you more than ever. His hands framed her face. Because you're not just remarkable. You're miraculous. And the world will try to break you to understand how you work. A phone buzzed. Cassandra checked it. Her expression hardened. We have a problem, she said. What kind of problem? The council kind. Cassandra showed them the screen. A formal summons written in elegant script. They've heard about you. They're demanding an audience 3 days from now. The council, Thea asked. The 5 oldest vampires in existence, Dorian explained. The governing body of our kind. Victor leads them. They make the laws, enforce the peace, and decide the fate of anything that threatens vampire society. And I'm a threat? You're an unknown, Cassandra said, which to them is the same thing. They'll want to verify what you are, study your blood, determine if you're an asset or a danger. And if they decide I'm a danger, silence answered her question. I won't let them hurt you, Dorian said fiercely. I don't care what I have to burn to keep you safe. Burning the council means civil war, Cassandra warned. Then let there be war. The conviction in his voice sent shivers down Thea's spine. This man, this vampire, this king would go to war for her. For a woman he'd met hours ago in a wine bar. It was insane. It was terrifying. It was the first time in Thea's life someone had chosen her over everything else. Don't start a war, Thea said. Not yet. Let me meet them. Let me prove I'm not a threat. Thea, you said you wanted to protect me. That means teaching me to navigate your world, not hiding me from it. She straightened in the chair. I've spent 26 years being afraid, being invisible, letting the world tell me I'm broken or dangerous or wrong. I'm done with that. If these council vampires want to meet me, fine. I'll meet them, on my terms. Dorian's expression shifted. Pride warred with fear. You don't know what you're asking for. Then tell me, explain it. Give me the information I need to make an informed choice. Thea's voice steadied. But don't make the choice for me. I've had enough of people deciding what's best for my life. Cassandra laughed softly. I really do like her. She's going to be the death of me, Dorian muttered. You're already dead, Thea pointed out. Undead. There's a difference. Despite everything, Thea smiled. Then the reality of the situation crashed back down. 3 days, she said. What do we do in 3 days? We prepare, Cassandra said. I run every test I can think of. We catalog your abilities, understand your limits, find your weaknesses before the council does. We train you, Dorian added, teach you vampire politics, how to speak to the council without showing fear, how to stand your ground without becoming a target. And we pray, Cassandra finished, that the council sees what we see, a woman with a gift, not a resource to exploit. Thea looked at her blood still glowing softly in the vial. Golden. Impossible. Hers. Okay, she said. 3 days. Let's make them count. The next 72 hours would determine everything. Whether Thea Morven remained a lonely, invisible woman or became the catalyst that changed the vampire world forever. 3 days felt like 3 hours. Thea stood in front of a full-length mirror in Dorian's penthouse, barely recognizing the woman staring back. Gone was the invisible waitress in her thrift store cardigan. In her place stood someone else. Someone who looked like she belonged in a world of ancient power and dangerous beauty. The dress Cassandra had chosen was midnight blue, simple in cut, but exquisite in detail. It hugged Thea's curves without clinging, felt it just above her knees, and somehow made her look both strong and elegant. Her dark hair, usually pulled into a messy ponytail, had been swept into a low twist that exposed her throat. The throat thing is important, Cassandra had explained earlier. In vampire culture, showing your neck is a sign of confidence. It says you're not afraid, that you trust your own power enough not to hide your vulnerability. Thea touched the exposed skin of her neck. Her pulse beat visibly beneath pale flesh. 3 days ago, she'd been alone in a wine bar. Now she was preparing to stand before the 5 oldest vampires in existence and argue for her right to exist freely. "You look terrified," Dorian said from the doorway. Thea met his eyes in the mirror. He wore all black as always, but formal now. A suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent. His white silver hair pulled back, revealing the sharp angles of his face. He looked every inch the king Cassandra had described. "I am terrified," Thea admitted. "Is that going to be a problem?" "No." Dorian crossed the room, came to stand behind her. His hands settled on her shoulders, warmed through the thin fabric of her dress. "Fear means you understand the stakes. It's the people who aren't afraid who make fatal mistakes." Comforting. "I'm not trying to comfort you. I'm trying to prepare you." His eyes met hers in the reflection. "The council will test you, Thea. They'll push, try to intimidate, make you feel small. Victor does it subtly. The others follow his lead. And I'm supposed to just stand there and take it?" "No." Dorian's grip tightened slightly. "You're supposed to remember who you are, what you can do. You heal the unhealable. You take pain no one else can bear. You looked at a 300-year-old vampire and saw his loneliness instead of his power. That's your strength, Thea. Not your blood. You." The words settled into her chest like warmth. A knock at the door. Cassandra entered, her expression grim. "The car's ready. We need to leave in 5 minutes." "I'm ready now," Thea said. "No, you're not." Cassandra held out a small velvet box. "You're missing this." In Autumn Imes lay a pendant, silver metal, shaped like a spiral with a stone at the center that seemed to shift colors in the light, purple to blue to green. Mesmerizing. "Protection charm," Cassandra explained. "If anything goes wrong, if the council tries to harm you, this will shield you long enough for Dorian to get you out." "What about you?" Thea asked. Cassandra smiled, sharp, predatory. "I don't need protection charms. I have 3 centuries of combat experience and a very creative approach to violence." Despite the tension, Thea laughed. Dorian took the pendant, fastened it around Thea's neck with careful fingers. The metal settled cool against her skin, then warmed. The stone pulsed once, twice, then went still. "It's keyed to your life force now," Cassandra said. "Don't take it off." "Okay. I mean it. Not for any reason. Not if they ask, not if they demand. That pendant stays on your body or everything we've done to protect you means nothing." The intensity in Cassandra's voice made Thea's stomach clench. "What aren't you telling me?" Cassandra and Dorian exchanged a look. "There are factions within the council," Dorian said finally. "Victor wants to maintain peace. He'll be fair, or as fair as a 1,000-year-old vampire can be. But there are others who may see you differently." "How differently?" "We'll handle it," Cassandra said firmly. "Just remember what we practiced. Stay calm, be honest but not naive, and trust your instincts." Thea nodded, throat tight. Cassandra checked her phone. "It's time." The council chambers existed in a converted cathedral on the edge of the city. Gothic architecture soared toward the sky, all stone spires and stained glass. But the images in the windows weren't saints and angels. They were vampires. Battles. Centuries of history written in colored glass and blood. Thea climbed the stone steps between Dorian and Cassandra. Other vampires watched from the shadows, their eyes reflecting light like animals. Whispers followed in her wake. "That's her. The human with transformation blood. She won't survive the council. I give her 5 minutes before she breaks." Thea kept her chin up, her spine straight, her throat exposed. The cathedral doors opened silently. Inside, the space had been gutted and reformed. The pews were gone. In their place, a circular chamber with 5 thrones arranged in a semicircle. Each throne was different, unique, representing the vampire who occupied it. 4 of the 5 thrones were filled. The vampire on the central throne rose as they entered. Tall, ancient, with features that suggested Middle Eastern ancestry and eyes the color of old amber. He wore robes instead of a suit, deep crimson embroidered with gold. "Dorian," he said. His voice resonated through the chamber like a bell. "You've brought your human." "I've brought Thea Morven," Dorian corrected, "who has agreed to meet with the council of her own free will." "Has she?" The vampire's attention shifted to Thea. The weight of his gaze felt physical. "Tell me, child, do you know what you are?" "I'm a woman with an unusual genetic condition," Thea said. Her voice only shook slightly. "And I'd appreciate being addressed by my name rather than child." Silence fell heavy. Then the ancient vampire smiled. "Bold, I like that." He descended from his throne with liquid grace. I am Victor, first of the council, and you, Thea Morven, are far more than a genetic condition. Another vampire stood, female, impossibly beautiful with black hair that fell like silk and eyes that held nothing but calculation. She wore a dress that probably cost more than a car, all black lace, and barely contained danger. She's a resource, the woman said, a tool. Let's not pretend otherwise. Morgana, Victor's tone held warning. We agreed to hear her before making judgments. Did we? Morgana descended from her throne, circling Thea like a shark. I agreed to evaluate a potential threat. That's what she is, Victor. Transformation, blood walking around unsecured, unprotected. Free to be taken by any vampire with the strength to claim her. I'm standing right here, Thea said, and I'm not an it to be claimed. Morgana's laugh was cruel. You think you have a choice in this? You're human, fragile, mortal. You exist at our pleasure. Morgana, Dorian's voice cracked like a whip. Stand down. Or what? Morgana turned her attention to Dorian. You'll fight me over a human you've known for 3 days. How predictable. You always did have a weakness for saving broken things. The words landed like a slap. Dorian moved vampire fast, positioning himself between Morgana and Thea. Call her broken again. See what happens. Children. Victor's single word stopped them both. We're here for a purpose. Morgana, return to your throne. Dorian, control yourself. And Thea, he approached her directly, slowly, giving her time to retreat if she wanted. Thea held her ground. Victor stopped an arm's length away, studied her with eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. You're not afraid of us, he observed. I'm terrified, Thea corrected, but I learned a long time ago that fear and courage aren't opposites, they're partners. Wise words from one so young, Victor gestured to the center of the chamber. Come, we have questions. You deserve the opportunity to answer them before we make any decisions about your fate. How generous, Thea said dryly. Victor's lips twitched. I'm beginning to understand Dorian's fascination. The other council members descended from their thrones as Thea walked to the center of the chamber. An elderly man with kind eyes. A woman who looked barely 20, but moved with ancient grace. A vampire whose gender seemed fluid, shifting with the light. 5 of the oldest vampires in existence. And Thea, mortal and vulnerable, and absolutely refusing to show it. Your blood, Victor began. Cassandra's preliminary tests suggest you carry transformation capabilities, healing properties, genetic markers that shouldn't exist in humans. Explain. I can't, Thea said honestly. I don't understand it myself. I've always been able to take injuries from others, transfer their wounds to myself. They heal faster on me than the original person. That's all I know. Show us, the elderly vampire said gently, if you're willing. Halna Cassandra stepped forward, producing a small silver knife. With your permission, I'll make a shallow cut on my arm. You transfer it. We observe. Thea looked at Dorian. He gave the smallest nod. Okay. Cassandra rolled up her sleeve, drew the blade across her forearm. Blood welled black in the dim light. The scent of it filled the chamber, thick and copper. Thea reached out, touched the wound. The now familiar pull began. Pain lanced up her arm as the cut appeared on her skin, exact mirror of Cassandra's. On the vampire, the wound sealed, vanished, leaving only blood-stained skin behind. The council members leaned forward. Remarkable, the young-looking female breathed. Look at her arm, the fluid vampire said. Thea's wound was already closing, faster than any human healing. Within 30 seconds, only a pink line remained. Within a minute, even that faded. Accelerated regeneration, Victor murmured. Combined with pain transference. Your body doesn't just move wounds, it processes them faster. Apparently, Thea flexed her fingers. The phantom pain of the cut lingered but faded quickly. And the blood itself, Morgana's voice dripped skepticism. Cassandra claims it glows, that it carries transformation properties. How convenient we haven't seen evidence of that. Because it requires a blood sample, Cassandra said, which we need Thea's permission to take. All eyes turned to Thea. She thought about the doctors who'd taken her blood without asking, the specialists who treated her like a specimen. 26 years of being poked and prodded and studied. I have conditions, Thea said. Morgana laughed. You have conditions, you're human. You don't get to make demands. Everyone gets to make demands about their own body, Thea shot back. That's called consent, or has immortality made you forget basic ethics? The chamber went dead silent. Morgana's eyes blazed. I dare speak up for myself, yes. Thea turned to Victor. You want my blood, fine, but it happens here, now, with Dorian present. And the results are sealed, not shared, not weaponized, not used to create some vampire army or cure-all serum. My blood, my choice, what happens with it? Impossible, Morgana said. The council has authority. Over vampires, Thea interrupted. I'm human. You have no authority over me unless I give it. So either you accept my terms or you get nothing. Victor's expression remained unreadable. Then slowly he smiled. You have fire, Thea Morven. Very well. Your terms are acceptable. We test here. Now. Results sealed by council magic. No distribution without unanimous agreement. And mine, Thea added. No distribution without my agreement, too. Agreed. Morgana looked like she wanted to argue. Victor silenced her with a look. Cassandra produced a vial and syringe. May I? Thea held out her arm. The needle slid in. Blood filled the vial. Dark red, normal, for 3 seconds. Then it began to glow. Soft at first, then brighter. Golden light that seemed to come from within the blood itself, growing until the vial illuminated Thea's face. Cassandra's hands, the circle of ancient vampires watching, with expressions ranging from wonder to hunger to fear. By the ancestors, the elderly vampire whispered. It's true, transformation blood. I thought it was extinct. What does it mean? The young female asked. What can it do? Victor took the vial from Cassandra's shaking hands, held it up to the light. The glow intensified. Legend says transformation blood has 3 properties, Victor said slowly. First, it can turn vampires human again. Reverse immortality. Give us back what we sacrificed for eternal life. The chamber erupted in whispers. Second, Victor continued, it can create new vampires without the traditional turning process. A single drop could transform a human without the pain, the death, the rebirth. More whispers, louder now. And third, Victor's eyes met Thea's. It can cure our sterility, allow vampires to bear children again, create life where only death existed. Silence fell like a hammer. Dorian's hand found Thea's, squeezed. So you see, Victor said, why you are infinitely precious and infinitely dangerous. Any one of these abilities would make you invaluable. All 3 make you a catalyst for change that could reshape our entire society. Or destroy it, Morgana added. What happens when vampires learn they can become human again? How many will choose mortality over eternity? How many will abandon their clans, their duties, their positions? What happens when new vampires are created without pain? The fluid vampire asked. Will we lose our discipline, our strength forged through suffering? What happens when we can have children? The young female whispered. Will we even be vampires anymore, or something else entirely? The questions hung in the air, each one heavier than the last. Thea found herself at the center of a storm she barely understood. I didn't ask for this, she said quietly. I didn't choose to have this blood. I just want to live my life, help people when I can. Maybe find connection. Maybe matter to someone. You matter to me, Dorian's voice cut through the tension. Thea Morven matters to me, not her blood, not her abilities. Her, the woman who took a stranger's pain in a wine bar, who absorbed silver poisoning to save Cassandra, who stands before the council and demands respect instead of begging for mercy. How touching, Morgana said. But emotion doesn't change facts. She's dangerous. She's a person, Dorian countered. She's a resource. Enough. Victor's command silenced them both. He set down the glowing vial with careful precision. Thea Morven, the council must make a decision. About you, about what your existence means for vampire society. This is not a decision we make lightly. I'm sure, Thea managed. But before we deliberate, I must ask you directly. What do you want? The question caught her off guard. What? You have transformation blood, healing abilities. You could demand anything. Protection, wealth, power. What is it you actually want? Thea thought about her lonely apartment, her invisible life, the 26 years of existing without truly living. I want to matter, she said honestly, not as a science experiment, not as a resource, as a person. I want to be seen, valued for who I am, not what I can do. And I want the freedom to choose my own path, even if that path is dangerous. Victor studied her for a long moment. Dorian, he said finally, you claimed her as mate. Is this true? The question sent shock rippling through Thea. Mate Dorian's hand tightened on hers. I did. Without explaining to her what that means, apparently. Victor's tone held amusement. Thea, do you understand the significance of a mate bond? No, Thea admitted. Then allow me to explain. In vampire culture, a mate is not a spouse, not a partner. A mate is everything. The other half of your soul. the person you would burn the world to protect. The bond is eternal, unbreakable. Even death doesn't sever it, and claiming someone as mate is the highest commitment a vampire can make. Thea's heart hammered. She turned to Dorian. You claimed me as your mate. I did. No hesitation, no apology. In front of Cassandra, in front of the council's summons, I claimed you because 3 days ago I met a woman who saw my loneliness and didn't run. Who took my pain without being asked? Who made me feel for the first time in 300 years like I wasn't alone? That's not, Thea's voice cracked. We barely know each other. I know you're brave. I know you're kind. I know you would rather bleed than watch someone else suffer. I know you see me, Thea, not Dorian the Vampire King, not Dorian the ancient predator. Me, and I see you, not your blood, not your abilities. You. Tears pricked Thea's eyes. Do you accept? Victor asked gently. A mate claim requires consent. Dorian has declared his intention. You must decide if you reciprocate. Thea looked at Dorian, this impossible man who'd appeared in her life like a storm, who'd shown her a world she never knew existed, who looked at her like she hung the stars. 3 days. She'd known him 3 days, but in those 3 days she'd felt more seen, more valued, more alive than in 26 years. I accept, Thea whispered. Dorian's expression broke open. Relief, joy, wonder, all of it visible on his face for the first time. Then it's done, Victor said. Witnessed by the council, sealed by your words. Thea Morven is Dorian's mate, and by our laws harming her is the same as harming him. This is insane, Morgana spat. She's human. The bond won't hold. It can't. The bond holds if both parties will it, the elderly vampire said softly. And I've never seen a bond declared with more conviction. Morgana's face twisted. Of course. Of course he found someone. 500 years, and he finally finds someone. And she's perfect, isn't she, young? Beautiful, powerful, everything I wasn't. For the first time, Thea understood. This wasn't just about her. This was about Dorian's past, about wounds that ran deeper than she'd realized. Morgana, Dorian started. No. Morgana's voice shook with rage. You don't get to comfort me. You left me, Dorian, broke our bond, destroyed what we had, and now you stand here with your new mate, your transformation, in blood, your perfect little human, and expect me to just accept it. I expect you to move on, Dorian said quietly. The way I have. We were toxic, Morgana. We hurt each other. The bond breaking was mercy for us both. Mercy, Morgana laughed bitterly. You call abandoning me mercy. I call surviving you mercy. The words landed like a death blow. Morgana's expression went cold. Dead. You'll regret this. Both of you. Is that a threat? Dorian's voice dropped to dangerous levels. It's a promise, Morgana looked at Thea. Enjoy your mate bond, human. See how long it lasts when reality sets in. When you realize immortality means watching everyone you love die. When the weight of eternity crushes whatever pretty feelings you have now. Morgana, Victor's voice cracked like thunder. You overstep. Do I? Morgana's smile was cruel. Or am I the only one willing to speak truth? She's human. He's vampire. Even with transformation, blood, even with mate bonds, the gulf between them is insurmountable. This ends in tragedy. It always does. Then let it end in tragedy, Thea said. Her voice steadied. I'd rather have tragedy with him than safety alone. I've been alone 26 years. I'm done with safe. The words rang through the chamber. Victor nodded slowly. The council has heard enough. Thea Morven, we find you are no threat to vampire society. Your blood will remain sealed. Your freedom maintained. You may live as Dorian's mate under his protection and authority. My freedom is my own, Thea corrected. Not his, not the council's. Mine. Spirited until the end. Victor smiled. Very well. Your freedom is your own. The council's protection extends to you as Dorian's mate. But heed this warning, child. Your blood makes you a target. There will be those who seek to use you, harm you, take what you possess, stay close to those who value you, trust carefully. And remember that even transformation blood cannot prevent betrayal. The warning sent ice down Thea's spine. I'll remember. See, that you do, Victor gestured to the chamber doors. You're dismissed, Dorian a word, alone. Dorian's hand tensed on Thea's. Anything you say to me can be said in front of her. It can, Victor agreed, but it shouldn't. This concerns council business, not your mate. After a moment, Dorian nodded. He turned to Thea, cupped her face. Wait with Cassandra. I'll be 5 minutes. If anything goes wrong, The protection charm, I know. He kissed her forehead. The gesture was tender, possessive, perfect. Then he stepped back and Cassandra was there guiding Thea toward the doors. Thea looked back once. Dorian stood before the council, every line of his body tense. Morgana watched him with an expression that mixed hatred and longing in equal measure. Then the doors closed and Thea couldn't see anymore. That went better than expected, Cassandra said as they walked through the cathedral's corridors. Better, Thea's laugh was slightly hysterical. Morgana basically promised to destroy us. Morgana always promises to destroy people. She rarely follows through. Cassandra's tone suggested this wasn't entirely true. But the important thing is Victor accepted you. The council recognized your mate bond. You're protected now, officially. Why don't I feel protected? Because you're smart enough to know official protection and actual safety aren't the same thing. They emerged into the night air. The city sprawled before them, lights glittering like fallen stars. Cassandra, Thea said quietly, what aren't you telling me? The vampire was silent for a long moment. Morgana didn't just hate Dorian for leaving her, Cassandra said finally. She hated him because she couldn't give him what he wanted most. A child, an heir. She tried for a century, used every method, every spell, every desperate attempt to conceive. All failed. And when she finally accepted she was barren, she blamed him, said his bloodline was cursed, that she'd wasted her fertile years on a vampire who could never give her children. But she's vampire. Vampires are sterile. We are, but Morgana was human once. She still had a decade or two before her human fertility would have ended. She turned vampire thinking she'd have eternity. Instead, she lost her last chance at motherhood. The pieces clicked together. And now I show up, human, with transformation blood that can cure sterility, and I'm mated to the vampire she couldn't have children with. Exactly. Cassandra's expression was grim. You're not just a rival to her, Thea. You're proof of her failure. Every moment you exist reminds her of what she lost, what she could never be. So she's going to try to kill me. Probably. Comforting. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to keep you alive. Cassandra checked her phone. Dorian will be out soon. When he is, we're going straight back to the penthouse. No detours, no stops. We don't trust anyone until we understand what Morgana's planning. What if she's not planning anything? What if she's just angry? Cassandra's laugh was dark. Thea, Morgana is 500 years old. She doesn't do anything without planning. The only question is how long until her plan activates. The cathedral doors opened. Dorian emerged, his expression tight. We need to leave now. What happened? Thea asked. Victor warned me. There's talk, factions forming. Some vampires want to ally with us. Others want to take you by force. Dorian's hand found hers grip almost painful. The conflict I mentioned may come sooner than expected. We need to be prepared. Prepared how? To decide what we're going to do. Dorian met her eyes. Because the council can't protect you forever, Thea. Eventually, we're going to have to make a choice. Transform you into a vampire so you can defend yourself. Or hide you so well no one can find you. Or fight, Thea finished. I won't ask you to fight. You don't have to ask, I'm already in this. Thea squeezed his hand. You said I'm your mate. That means we face this together, all of it. Dorian pulled her close, his forehead pressed to hers. I don't deserve you. Probably not. Thea smiled despite everything. But you're stuck with me anyway. Thank God. He kissed her, soft, desperate, full of everything he couldn't say. When they broke apart, Cassandra was watching with an expression Thea couldn't quite read. What? Thea asked. Nothing, just... Cassandra shook her head. I've known Dorian for a century. I've never seen him like this. Whatever you did to him, it's permanent. He'd burn the world for you. I didn't do anything. You saw him. Really saw him. That's rarer than transformation blood. The drive back to the penthouse was silent, tense. Dorian's hand never left Thea's, like if he let go, she might disappear. When they finally reached the safety of the apartment, Thea collapsed onto the leather couch. The adrenaline that had carried her through the council meeting drained away, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I need to sleep for a year, she said. You need to eat first. Dorian disappeared into the kitchen, returned with a sandwich that looked almost comically normal compared to everything else. You're human, you need food. I need answers. Eat first, answers second. Thea ate. The sandwich was surprisingly good. Apparently 300 years gave you time to perfect cooking. When she finished, Dorian sat beside her, close, present. Ask, he said, this mate bond, what does it actually mean? It means my soul recognizes yours. It means I would rather die than live without you. It means every instinct I have is oriented toward your protection, your happiness, your well-being. It means he stopped, started again. It means I love you, Thea, completely, irrevocably. After 3 days, I know it's insane, but there it is. Thea's breath caught. You love me. I love you. We met 3 days ago. I know. This is crazy. I know. I don't even know your last name. I don't have one anymore. Gave it up centuries ago. Dorian's smile was sad. But if you want, you can give me yours when you're ready. Marriage, if you want, or just sharing a name, whatever makes you happy. Thea's head spun. 3 days ago, she'd been invisible, alone. Now she was mated to a vampire king who wanted to share her name. I need time, she said, to process, to understand, to figure out if this is real or just intensity mistaken for connection. Take all the time you need. Dorian's thumb brushed her knuckles. I have eternity. I can wait. But I don't have eternity. I have maybe 60 more years if I'm lucky. Then we have a decision to make. Dorian's expression turned serious. Your blood can transform vampires to human, but it can also transform humans to vampire. If you want immortality, if you want eternity with me, it's possible. And if I don't want that, if I want to stay human, then I'll love you for 60 years and spend the rest of eternity remembering what it felt like to be whole. The simple honesty of it broke something in Thea's chest. Don't say things like that. Why not? Because it makes me want impossible things. What things? Thea looked at him. This ancient, powerful, lonely man who'd seen centuries pass and found them all empty until now. Forever, she whispered. I want forever with you, even though it's insane, even though we barely know each other. I want it. Dorian's eyes blazed. Then take it. Not yet. Thea stopped, started again. I need to be sure that this is real, that it's not just intensity and danger and transformation, blood making us feel connected. I need to know it's real. How long? I don't know. Months maybe. A year. However long it takes for me to be certain. I can wait a year. Dorian pulled her close. I can wait forever if that's what you need. They sat in silence. The city glittered beyond the windows. Somewhere out there, Morgana plotted. Factions formed. Danger gathered like storm clouds. But in the penthouse in Dorian's arms, Thea felt safe. For the first time in her life, she felt like she'd come home. The path ahead was uncertain, dangerous, impossible. But she wasn't alone anymore. And that made all the difference. Victor's warning proved premature. The predicted conflict never materialized. Days passed without incident. Then a week. Then 2. Whatever factions had been forming seemed to dissolve as quickly as they'd appeared. Or perhaps, as Cassandra suggested, they were simply biding their time. Morgana's planning something, Cassandra said during one of their training sessions. She's too quiet. That's when she's most dangerous. But no attack came, no kidnapping attempts, no threats, just silence. And in that silence, Thea and Dorian built something real. 2 months passed like a dream. Thea learned to live in Dorian's world, not as a prisoner, not as a possession, as a partner. She trained with Cassandra 3 times a week, learning to defend herself against threats, both human and supernatural. She studied vampire politics with a tutor, Victor sent an ancient scholar who treated her with surprising respect. She read through Dorian's library, discovering histories written in his own hand, chronicles of centuries she could barely comprehend. And she fell deeper in love. It happened in small moments. Dorian learning to cook her favorite meals, his ancient hands mastering modern recipes with endearing concentration. The way he listened when she talked about her childhood, her lonely years, her dreams. How he'd wake her from nightmares with gentle touches and whispered reassurances that she was safe, valued, seen. The way he looked at her like she'd hung the stars. But time was a thief. Thea felt it in her bones. Every morning she woke a day older, while Dorian remained unchanged, ageless, eternal. The gulf between mortal and immortal stretched wider with each passing sunrise. She'd said she needed a year to be certain. But 2 months of living together, of falling deeper each day, had given her the certainty she thought would take 12 months to find. This was real. This was forever. And she wanted it. She found him on the balcony one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of amber and rose. The fading light caught his silver hair, made him look ethereal, untouchable. You're thinking too loud, Dorian said without turning. Thea joined him at the railing. The city sprawled below, already transitioning from day to night. Millions of lives flickering like candles. I'm getting older, she said quietly. You're 26, hardly ancient. And you're 300. The math doesn't work, Dorian. He turned to face her. The sunset made shadows of his features, but his eyes glowed in the dimming light. Silver gray. Impossible. What are you saying? Thea took a breath, let it out slowly. The decision had been building for weeks, growing in the quiet spaces between them. I want you to turn me. Silence fell heavy. Dorian's expression went carefully blank. You don't know what you're asking. I do. I've read your books, talked to Cassandra, studied what it means to become vampire. I know what I'm giving up, and I know what I'm gaining. You're giving up everything human. Sunlight, warmth, the taste of food, the ability to have children naturally. Your heartbeat, your soul, some would say. I'm gaining forever with you. Thea's voice steadied. I'm gaining the strength to protect myself instead of always needing protection. I'm gaining time to explore this world you've shown me, to be your partner, not your mortal liability. You're not a liability. I'm vulnerable, fragile. Every day I age, the gap between us grows, and I can feel you holding back, Dorian, afraid to love me too much because you know I'm temporary. I see it in your eyes when you think I'm sleeping. This grief for something that hasn't happened yet. The words struck true. Dorian's composure cracked. I don't want to be the reason you give up your humanity, he said roughly. What if you regret it? What if you wake up immortal and hate me for taking your mortal life? What if I don't transform and hate myself for wasting our time together, afraid? Thea stepped closer, took his hands, cold, always cold. I've thought about this constantly for 2 months. I've weighed every option, and I keep coming back to the same truth. I'd rather spend eternity with you than a natural lifetime alone. You wouldn't be alone. You're young, beautiful. You could find someone human, have a normal life, children, growing old together. I don't want normal. Thea's grip tightened. I've been normal 26 years. It was lonely, empty. You've shown me something better, something real. I'm not choosing immortality because I'm afraid of death. I'm choosing it because I'm in love with you, and I want all the time we can have. Dorian pulled her into his arms, held her like she was precious, breakable. There's no going back, he whispered into her hair. Once you're turned, you can't undo it. You'll be vampire forever, dependent on blood, sensitive to silver, watching the world change while you remain frozen in time. Then we'll watch it change together. You say that now. But centuries from now, when everyone you knew is dust, when the world is unrecognizable, you might feel differently. Maybe. Thea pulled back to look at him. But that's a problem for future us. Present us wants this. Wants forever. Wants you. A sound escaped Dorian. Half laugh, half sob. His forehead pressed to hers. Are you absolutely certain? Yes. No doubts. Terrified, but certain. God. His hands framed her face. I don't deserve this. Don't deserve you. But I'm selfish enough to take what you're offering. Good. Thea smiled despite the fear coiling in her stomach. When tomorrow night, we'll need preparation. Cassandra to monitor. Safety measures in case something goes wrong. What could go wrong? Dorian's expression darkened. The transformation can fail. Your body might reject the vampire blood. You could die human instead of rising undead. Or rise wrong, feral, lost to bloodlust. It's rare, but it happens. How rare 1 in 50 transformations goes badly. Those are better odds than I had for being born with transformation blood. Despite everything, Dorian laughed. Your optimism is terrifying. My realism, Thea corrected. I know the risks. I'm taking them anyway. With you, for us. They stood together as the sun finished setting. The city lights flickered on below constellations made of human ambition and electric power. Tomorrow, Thea's mortal life would end. Tomorrow forever would begin. The transformation chamber existed in the penthouse's lowest level. Thea hadn't known it was there until Cassandra led her downstairs that seemed to descend forever. The room was circular, stone walls carved with symbols that hurt to look at. A single bed in the center, pristine white sheets that looked almost ceremonial. Candles burned in wall sconces, casting dancing shadows. Atmospheric, Thea managed. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Necessary. Cassandra checked monitors along one wall, medical equipment that looked equal parts modern technology and ancient ritual. The transformation requires specific conditions. Temperature, atmospheric pressure, mystical alignment. We can't do this in your bedroom. Romantic. Survival first, romance later. Dorian appeared in the doorway. He'd changed into simple black clothes, his hair pulled back. He looked younger somehow, vulnerable. Everything's ready, Cassandra said. Thea lied down on the bed. Dorian, you'll need to feed first. You can't transform her on an empty stomach. The bloodlust could make you drain her completely instead of partially. I know, Dorian's voice was tight. I've done this before. Not with someone you love. The words hung in the air. Dorian crossed to a refrigerator Thea hadn't noticed, pulled out a bag of blood, drank it like medicine. Necessary, unpleasant. When he finished, his eyes had changed, brighter, hungrier. Last chance to change your mind, he said to Thea. I'm not changing my mind. You're insane. We've established this. Thea lay down on the bed. The sheets were cool against her skin. She wore a simple white dress Cassandra had provided. Easy to remove if needed. Easy to burn if things went wrong. Thea tried not to think about that second option. Dorian knelt beside the bed, took her hand. This is going to hurt, he said quietly. More than anything you've ever felt. Your body will fight it. Try to reject the transformation. You'll feel like you're dying, because technically you are. The human you dies. The vampire you is born from that death. How long? Hours. Maybe a full night. Time becomes meaningless. You'll drift between consciousness and oblivion. Cassandra will monitor your vitals. Make sure your heart stops at the right moment. That you don't bleed out too quickly. And you. I'll be here every second. You won't be alone. Thea squeezed his hand. I'm ready. No one's ever really ready. Dorian leaned down, kissed her gently. His lips were cold. She'd gotten used to that. Would soon be cold herself. But if anyone can survive this, it's you. He pulled back. His expression shifted, became something other, something predatory. The vampire emerged. His eyes glowed pure silver. Fangs descended longer than Thea had ever seen them. His body tensed, every muscle coiled. Cassandra, he said. His voice had changed. Deeper, rougher. Begin the ritual. Cassandra started chanting in a language Thea didn't recognize. Latin, maybe, or something older. The candles flared brighter. The symbols on the walls began to glow. Magic filled the room. Thea felt it on her skin like electricity. Dorian's hand moved to her throat, tilted her head to expose her neck. His thumb found her pulse, felt it racing. I love you, he whispered. Then his fangs sank into her throat. Pain exploded through Thea's body, not the sharp pain of a wound, something deeper, cellular, like every nerve ending had been set on fire simultaneously. She tried to scream. Couldn't. Her lungs had seized. Dorian's mouth worked at her throat, drawing blood, not gulping, controlled, measured, but so much, too much. Thea's vision began to gray at the edges. The world tilted sideways. She felt her heartbeat slowing, struggling, each beat taking longer than the last. Then Dorian pulled away. Blood stained his mouth. He looked savage, beautiful, terrifying. He bit his own wrist, tore the flesh open, held it to Thea's mouth. Drink, he commanded. His blood touched her lips, copper and darkness and something else, something ancient and powerful and utterly inhuman. Thea swallowed. The blood burned going down, like swallowing liquid fire. It hit her stomach and exploded outward, racing through her veins, rewriting everything it touched. Her DNA restructured, cells died and were reborn changed. Her heart gave one last struggling beat, stopped, silence, absolute, perfect, terrible silence. Thea's heart lay still in her chest. Death. This was death. But then something else began. A different rhythm, not a heartbeat, something slower, deeper, the pulse of vampire blood moving through dead veins. Thea's eyes snapped open. Everything hurt. Every cell in her body screamed. She was dying and being born simultaneously. Caught between mortal and immortal. Neither fully one nor the other. Breathe, Dorian said. His hand cupped her face. You don't need to, but breathe anyway. It helps. Thea gasped. Air-filled lungs that no longer required it. But the familiar motion grounded her. Reminded her she was still herself. Still Thea. Even as everything changed, the pain intensified, peaked. Thea's back arched off the bed. A scream finally tore from her throat. Raw. Cassandra appeared beside her, pressed a damp cloth to her forehead. You're doing well, Cassandra said. Your body's accepting the change. Heart stopped at exactly the right moment. Blood transformation is progressing normally. Normally, Thea managed. This is normal. For turning vampire, yes. Another wave of pain crashed through her. This time, Thea felt her bones shifting, restructuring, becoming denser, stronger. Her muscles tore and reformed, enhanced with supernatural power. Her senses exploded. Suddenly, she could hear everything. Cassandra's unnecessary breathing, Dorian's stillness that wasn't quite silence, the hum of electricity in the walls, the movement of air molecules. She could smell blood. Her own blood still on Dorian's mouth. The medical supplies, the stone of the walls, 1,000 scents layering over each other, and the hunger. Oh God, the hunger. It rose in her throat like bile, insistent, demanding, all-consuming. She needed blood, needed it the way humans needed air. Dorian, her voice came out wrong, rough, dangerous. I'm so hungry. I know. He was already moving, retrieving a blood bag from the refrigerator. Here, drink slowly. Your fangs haven't descended yet. We'll have to. Pain lanced through Thea's gums. She felt them. Fangs pushing through. Sharp, deadly. Perfect. She grabbed the blood bag, tore it open with strength she didn't know she had. Drank. The blood was cold. Dead. But it was everything. It filled the hunger, soothed the burning in her throat, gave her strength. She drained the bag in seconds. Reached for another. Slow down, Cassandra warned. Too much too fast will make you sick. Thea forced herself to stop, to breathe, to remember she was still herself despite the hunger, despite the changes, despite everything. How do you feel? Dorian asked. Thea took inventory. The pain had faded to a dull ache. Her heart remained still, but she felt strong, powerful, alive in ways she'd never been alive. Different, she said. Everything's different. Look at me. She met Dorian's eyes, watched his expression shift. Your eyes, he breathed. Silver, like mine, but brighter, clearer. Is that normal? Nothing about you is normal. He helped her sit up. Can you stand? Thea swung her legs off the bed, stood, the world tilted. Too much sensory input, too many sounds, smells, sensations. She staggered. Dorian caught her. Easy. Your senses are heightened. It takes time to adjust. How much time? Days, maybe weeks. Everyone's different. Thea looked down at her hands. They looked the same. But when she flexed her fingers, she felt the strength in them. She could crush stone if she wanted, tear metal, break bone. The power was intoxicating, terrifying. I'm vampire, she whispered. You're a vampire, Dorian confirmed. Forever. Forever. Thea's laugh came out slightly hysterical. I did it. I actually did it. You did. Dorian pulled her close. You survived. Most humans don't. The transformation kills them. But you're strong, resilient. You made it through. What happens now? Now we teach you to be vampire, how to control your strength, how to feed without killing, how to exist in this new state. He pressed his lips to her forehead. But first you rest, let your body finish the transformation. Sleep through the day while your cells complete their change. Will you stay? Always. Cassandra left them alone in the transformation chamber. Dorian carried Thea back upstairs to their bedroom. Laid her on sheets that smelled different now. Everything smelled different. The sun was rising. Thea could feel it. Not painful yet, but uncomfortable. A pressure against her skin like a warning. Close the blackout curtains, Dorian said. Your first day as vampire. You need complete darkness. Thea obeyed. The room plunged into shadow. When she returned to the bed, Dorian was already there, waiting. He pulled her into his arms. Sleep, he murmured. When you wake, we'll face eternity together. Thea closed her eyes. Her body felt heavy. The transformation had drained her completely. But in Dorian's arms, she felt safe, loved, whole. For the first time in her mortal life, she'd chosen her own fate, taken control, refused to let circumstances dictate her future. And as sleep pulled her under, Thea smiled. She was vampire now. Forever had begun. 4 months passed in a blur of learning and growing. Thea mastered her new abilities with the same determination she'd brought to survival. She learned to control her strength, to feed without frenzy, to move with vampire speed and grace. Cassandra proved an excellent teacher, patient when Thea struggled, proud when she succeeded. Dorian was different, more relaxed. The constant worry that had shadowed him for 2 months had lifted. No longer did he have to fear losing her to time. They had eternity now, all the time in the world. They explored the city at night. Dorian showed her his kingdom from a vampire's perspective, the hidden clubs where immortals gathered, the blood banks that supplied willing donors, the ancient places that predated the modern world. Thea had never been happier. Until the morning she woke feeling strange, nauseous, exhausted despite a full night's sleep. Her body felt different, wrong somehow. She found Cassandra in the lab running tests on a new batch of blood samples. I need your help, Thea said. Cassandra looked up. Her expression shifted immediately. What's wrong? I don't know. I just feel off, tired, sick. Is that normal for vampires? No. Cassandra set down her vials. Vampires don't get sick. We don't get tired unless we've gone too long without feeding. When did you last drink? Last night, 2 bags, I should be fine. Then what? Cassandra stopped. Her eyes widened. Thea, when was your last period? I don't get periods anymore. I'm vampire. We don't menstruate. Exactly. So when was your last human period before the transformation? Thea thought back. A week before I turned. Why? Cassandra grabbed Thea's wrist, pulled her to the medical chair, started running tests with frantic efficiency. What are you doing? Thea asked. Something impossible. Cassandra drew blood, ran it through a machine, stared at the results. Oh my God! What, Cassandra, you're scaring me. The vampire turned. Her expression was pure shock. You're pregnant. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. That's impossible. Vampires are sterile. I know. I've been vampire for 4 months. I know. So how? You conceived before the transformation, Cassandra said slowly. Human pregnancy. But when you turned vampire, your transformation blood protected the fetus. Vampire metabolism slowed the development. You're 8 months along by human count. But the baby is only at what would be 4 months in development. Hybrid pregnancies follow different rules. Thea's hand moved to her stomach. Flat, unchanged. But inside, I'm pregnant, she whispered. You're pregnant. With Dorian's child. With Dorian's child. The impossibility of it crashed over Thea like a wave. Vampires couldn't have children. It was fundamental law. The price of immortality was sterility. But transformation blood changed the rules. Does Dorian know? Cassandra asked. No, I just found out. Thea's voice broke. How is this even possible? You're one in existence, Thea. Your blood breaks every rule we have. Why should pregnancy be different? Cassandra ran more tests. The fetus is developing, growing, something between human and vampire, a hybrid. Is that safe? Will it survive? I don't know. This has never happened before, not in recorded vampire history. Cassandra's hands shook as she typed notes. We need to tell Dorian. He needs to know. Not yet. Thea's mind raced. Let me process this first. Figure out what I want to say, how to tell him. Thea, please, just give me an hour. I need to think. Cassandra studied her, then nodded. 1 hour, then we tell him together. This is too important to keep secret. Thea left the lab on shaking legs, wandered through the penthouse in a daze. Pregnant. She was pregnant. With a vampire's child, a hybrid. Something that shouldn't exist. Something impossible. She found herself in the library. Floor-to-ceiling books, histories written over centuries. Dorian's handwriting and journals that spanned hundreds of years. In one journal dated 50 years ago, she found a passage that made her breath catch. I have accepted that I will never have an heir, never hold a child that carries my blood. The loneliness of immortality is bearable, but the loneliness of a bloodline ending with me, that wound never heals. I watch human families, parents with children, grandparents with legacy, and I know I will never have that. My line ends with me. 300 years of existence, all of it meaningless, all of it dust. Tears fell on the page. Thea hadn't realized she was crying. Dorian had wanted a child for centuries, had mourned the impossibility of it, had resigned himself to eternal solitude. And now, through some miracle of transformation, blood and impossible timing, she could give him exactly what he'd always wanted. A child, an heir, legacy. Thea, she turned. Dorian stood in the doorway, concern written across his features. Cassandra said you weren't feeling well. Are you all right? Do you need to feed? Thea set down the journal, crossed to him, took his hands. I need to tell you something. Worry flooded his expression. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Something's impossible, but real. Thea, you're scaring me. She took a breath, let it out, met his eyes. I'm pregnant. Dorian froze completely, utterly, still. What? I'm pregnant. We conceived before my transformation. And my transformation blood protected the pregnancy. It's been growing all this time. The baby's developing. A hybrid. Half vampire, half what I was. Our child. The silence stretched. Endless. Then Dorian's knees buckled. He sank to the floor. Thea went with him, kneeling, holding his hands. That's impossible, he whispered. I know. Vampires can't have children. I know. I can't, his voice broke. 300 years. 300 years I've been alone, childless. I accepted it, made peace with it. And now you're telling me we're going to have a baby. Thea's own voice shook. I don't know how. I don't know if it's safe, but it's real. It's happening. We're going to be parents. A sound escaped Dorian. Not quite a laugh, not quite a sob. His hands came up to frame her face. You're serious. Completely serious. A child. Our child. Our child. Something broke in Dorian's expression. 300 years of grief, of resignation, of accepting the impossible loneliness of immortal existence. And then tears. Blood tears, the only kind vampires could cry. They streaked down his face in crimson lines. I never thought. He couldn't finish. Pulled Thea against his chest. Held her like she was the only thing anchoring him to reality. I never thought I'd have this. Have you. Have a family. We're going to have a family, Thea confirmed. Her own tears fell. I know it's terrifying. I know there are risks, but Dorian, we made something impossible. Something beautiful. Together. He pulled back. His hands moved to her stomach. Still flat, but inside their child grew. Impossible. Perfect. Theirs. How far along? Cassandra says about 8 months by human count, but only 4 months development because of vampire metabolism. The baby's growing slower than human, but healthier. Is it safe for you for the baby? Cassandra's monitoring. She says everything looks good for a completely unprecedented pregnancy. Despite everything, Dorian laughed. Nothing about us has ever been normal. No, it really hasn't. They knelt together on the library floor, holding each other, processing the impossible miracle growing between them. What if I'm a terrible father? Dorian whispered. What if I'm a terrible mother? Then we'll figure it out together. Like everything else, Vaughn. Thea smiled against his shoulder. I like the sound of that. They stayed there until Cassandra found them. The vampire stood in the doorway watching with an expression that mixed joy and concern. We need to discuss next steps, Cassandra said. Hybrid pregnancies. They're theoretical. We have no data, no precedent. We're in uncharted territory. Then we chart it, Dorian said. He stood pulling Thea with him. Whatever we need, whatever resources. We protect this child no matter what. Agreed. Cassandra pulled out her tablet. I'll need to run tests, constant monitoring. The pregnancy might progress differently than human or vampire. We need to be prepared for anything. What about the council? Thea asked. Do they need to know? Silence fell heavy. Eventually, Cassandra said carefully, a hybrid child is unprecedented. They'll want to verify, study, determine if it's a threat. It's not a threat, it's a baby. To them, it's both. Cassandra's expression was grim. We keep this secret as long as possible. Give the pregnancy time to develop. Give you both time to prepare. But eventually the council will find out. And when they do, we face them, Dorian finished. Together, as a family. Thea's hand moved to her stomach. Protection, promise. Their child would be safe. Whatever it took. Whoever stood in their way. The pregnancy progressed in ways Cassandra's books couldn't predict. Some days Thea felt perfectly normal. Others she was exhausted sleeping through entire nights. The baby grew slowly but steadily, visible now as a gentle curve to her abdomen. 5 months into the pregnancy, Cassandra detected a heartbeat. Strong, fast, unlike anything she'd heard before. It's healthy, Cassandra said, relief evident in her voice. Whatever this baby is, it's thriving. But peace never lasted. The attack came on a Tuesday night. Thea was alone in the penthouse library. Dorian had gone to handle council business. Cassandra was in her lab, normal, routine. The windows exploded inward. Glass shattered across the floor. 3 figures in black dropped into the room with inhuman speed. Hunters, armed with silver blades and wooden stakes. But they weren't after Dorian. They were after her. Secure the hybrid carrier, one hissed. Thea's hand went to her stomach. Protective, instinctive. No. She moved. Vampire speed, strength. But pregnancy had slowed her reflexes, made her cautious where she should be aggressive. One of the hunters lunged. Thea dodged, barely. The silver blade whistled past her face. Another came from behind, grabbed her arms. She twisted, broke free, but not fast enough. Pain lanced across her shoulder. A silver blade, shallow, but enough to burn. Don't hurt the baby, one hunter warned. We need it intact. The words sent ice through Thea's veins. They didn't want to kill her. They wanted to take her, study her child, use their baby as an experiment. Rage flooded through Thea. Not fear, not anymore. She grabbed the nearest hunter by the throat, lifted him off the ground with vampire strength. Touch my child, she said, voice deadly calm, and I'll show you exactly how much pain I can transfer before you die. Her empathic healing worked both ways. She could take pain, but she could also give it. She focused, pushed, every wound she'd ever absorbed. Every burn, every cut, every silver poisoning. The hunter screamed, his companions hesitated. That was their mistake. The penthouse door exploded open. Dorian materialized. His expression was murder incarnate. You attacked my mate. His voice could have frozen hell. You threatened my child. The hunters never stood a chance. Dorian moved like death. One hunter fell with a snapped neck. Another was torn apart before he could blink. The third tried to run. Cassandra appeared in the doorway, caught him, ended him. Silence fell. Dorian crossed to Thea. His hands were gentle, despite the violence still humming through his body. Are you hurt? Shoulder, silver blade. It's already healing. She leaned into him. They wanted the baby. I know. His arms wrapped around her, protective, possessive. They'll never get the chance. How did they find us? Cassandra demanded, checking the bodies. This penthouse is warded, secured. She found a communicator on one of the bodies, activated it, a voice crackled through. Female, familiar. Status, Cassandra looked at Dorian. Morgana. You didn't get them, Cassandra said into the device. Your hunters are dead, and now you've declared war. Silence. Then Morgana's laugh. Not war, darling. Justice. That hybrid abomination shouldn't exist. I'm simply correcting nature's mistake. Dorian took the communicator. His voice was deadly soft. Come from my family again, Morgana. I dare you. I'll remind you exactly why you couldn't beat me 500 years ago. He crushed the device. The message was sent. The next months were tense. Guards posted, wards strengthened. Thea never went anywhere without Dorian or Cassandra. But Morgana's second attack never came. Instead, Victor summoned them to the council. The child, he said without preamble. We've heard rumors. Is it true? There was no point lying. Thea's pregnancy was visible now, obvious. Yes, Dorian said. Thea is pregnant with my child, a hybrid. The council chamber erupted. Victor raised a hand. Silence fell. This changes everything, he said quietly. A hybrid child. Transformation blood passed to a new generation. The first vampire birth in millennia. The first proof, the elderly council member said, that we are not truly dead, that life can still spring from us. Or the first sign of our extinction, Morgana spat, diluting pure vampire blood with human weakness. Thea's blood is stronger than any vampire's, Cassandra countered. The child will be extraordinary. The child will be an abomination. Enough. Victor's voice cracked like thunder. The child exists. The question is what we do now. Protect it, the young female council member said softly. Study it, learn from it. This baby could change our entire understanding of what we are. Or destroy us, Morgana hissed. Then we'll know soon enough. Victor looked at Thea. When is the baby due? 2 months, Cassandra said. If the pregnancy continues at current pace. 2 months, Victor repeated. Very well. Thea Morven, the council grants you protection. Any attack on you or your child will be met with our full retaliation. You carry something unprecedented, something that belongs to all vampires. She belongs to me, Dorian said quietly. Both of them do. Yes. Victor's smile was sad, which is why we trust you to guard them well. Because if that child dies, Dorian hope dies with it. The hope that we are more than monsters, that we can create as well as destroy. The weight of his words settled over the chamber. Thea's hand moved to her stomach. Inside, the baby kicked. Strong, alive, impossible. We'll protect her, Thea said, whatever it takes. See that you do, Victor gestured dismissal. The council will reconvene when the child is born. Until then, Dorian, keep your family safe. They left the council chambers, but Morgana's gaze followed them. Hatred, envy, promise of violence. She won't stop, Cassandra warned. I know, Dorian said. But neither will we. The baby came early, not 2 months, 3 weeks. Thea woke in the middle of the day. Wrong vampires did not sleep during day to wetness, in pain, labor. Dorian, her scream brought him instantly. The baby, it's coming. Everything moved in a blur. Cassandra's lab, medical equipment, pain that was different from transformation. Primal, ancient, the pain of bringing life into the world. Hours passed. Thea had never known time could stretch like this. You're doing beautifully, Cassandra said. Just a little more. Push. Thea pushed, felt something tear, didn't care, and then a cry. Not a vampire's cry, not quite human either. Something between, something new. It's a girl, Cassandra breathed. She placed the baby on Thea's chest. Tiny, perfect, eyes that shifted between blue and silver, skin warm to the touch. Alive. Hope, Thea whispered. The name felt right. We'll call her Hope. Dorian stood frozen, staring at his daughter with an expression of pure wonder. She's perfect, he finally managed. Thea, she's perfect. Blood tears fell on the baby's blanket. Hope looked up at her father and made a soft sound. Not quite a coo, almost like recognition. Dorian so carefully took his daughter in his arms, held her like she was made of spun glass. Hello, little one, he whispered. I'm your father. I've waited 300 years to meet you. Hope's tiny hand wrapped around his finger, and Dorian, ancient vampire king destroyer of armies, broke down completely. Thank you, he said to Thea, for this, for her, for giving me everything I thought I'd lost forever. Thea smiled through exhaustion. We made her together. She's ours. Impossible. Perfect. Ours. Cassandra ran tests. Careful. Thorough. She's healthy, she finally announced. Heartbeat strong, temperature warm, warmer than human, cooler than vampire. She's exactly what we hoped. A perfect hybrid. What can she do? Dorian asked. What abilities? Too early to tell, but Dorian, Cassandra's expression was strange. When I touched her, for just a moment, I saw something, a flash of memory, not mine, yours. Dorian looked at his daughter. Hope gazed back with those shifting eyes. She has Thea's empathic ability, Cassandra said slowly, but evolved. She doesn't just transfer pain. She can see memories, experience emotions. She's a bridge between minds. Like her mother, Dorian said softly, connecting what shouldn't be connected, making the impossible possible. They sat together in the lab, new family, impossible family, perfect family. Outside, the world waited. Morgana plotted. The council watched. Danger gathered. But in that moment, holding his daughter, Dorian felt something he hadn't felt in 300 years. Complete peace. The penthouse garden glowed with evening light. Hope, 4 years old now. Dark hair and shifting silver eyes played among the flowers. Her laughter rang clear and bright. Daddy, watch, she touched a wilting rose. Focused. The flower straightened, bloomed, turned vibrant red. I made it better, Hope said proudly, like Mommy does with people. Dorian scooped up his daughter, spun her around. You're extraordinary, little one, just like your mother. Thea watched from the balcony door. 5 years since she'd been an invisible waitress. 5 years since a lonely vampire had seen her in a wine bar and changed everything. She was vampire now, mother now, complete in ways she'd never imagined possible. They're beautiful together, Cassandra said, joining her. They are. Morgana's been quiet, too quiet. I know. Thea touched the pendant at her throat. Protection charm, still there after all these years. But we're ready, whatever comes. Dorian carried Hope over. Their daughter reached for Thea, who took her with practiced ease. Mommy, Daddy says we're special, Hope announced. Very special, Thea confirmed. Because I can do magic and you heal people, and Daddy is really, really old. Both parents laughed. Something like that, Dorian said. Hope's expression turned serious. I saw something today, in my dreams. What did you see, sweetheart? Thea asked. A lady with black hair. She was angry. She was thinking about us. Hope's eyes met her father's. She's coming, Daddy, soon. Dorian and Thea exchanged a look. Morgana. Let her come, Dorian said quietly. His hand found Thea's. We'll face her together. As a family. As a family, Thea agreed. Hope nestled between her parents. Safe, loved, protected. The war was coming. They all knew it. Morgana wouldn't rest until she tried to destroy what she could never have. But Thea Morven Healer, vampire mother, was done running. Done hiding. Done being afraid. She had everything worth fighting for. A mate who'd seen her when she was invisible. A daughter who carried hope for an entire species. A family built on impossible love. And she would burn the world before she let anyone take that away. The sunset painted the sky in shades of amber and rose. Beautiful. Bittersweet. Perfect. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, new battles. But tonight, in this moment in Dorian's arms with their miracle daughter between them, Thea felt only joy, only hope, only love, and that was everything.